Well, welcome everyone to Beyond the Weekend. We have a special podcast episode today that we're not talking about the weekend today. We're actually going to talk about a trip that we do each summer to Indonesia, to Papua, Indonesia. You know, as we were talking about, we talk about that a little bit on the weekends. We tell you a little bit about what goes on, but we thought it'd be fun to do a podcast episode where we talk a little bit more in depth about what that trip is and what happens each summer. So that's what we're going to do today, and I have three guests here today to help talk about that went on the trip this summer. So I have Jaret Carlson.
Jaret Carlson.
Hello.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
And that other voice you just heard is Matt Edmonds.
Greetings, everyone. I am thrilled to be back in the podcast room. And Matt Nissen, thanks for hosting.
You're welcome.
I'm clapping for you.
You're
not
welcome.
me.
And our third guest, Chad Leonard.
Hey.
Welcome.
Good to see
Chad Leonard. Give him a little.
Maybe a little less applause. Can we add that in post?
Yeah.
That would be done. That'd be helpful.
Can we put a laugh track on the podcast?
Yeah, we don't do that. Paul, you told me that we did that.
Can we vote on that before we do that?
All my laughs that you've ever heard have been fake.
Paul is the laugh track. I thoroughly believe that.
I do them after the fact.
It's like we have this little signal that whenever I look over to you, you start laughing. I'm like, that's
You're like, he's laughing a lot.
right now. That was a joke.
He talks all monotone and sad, and then he laughs. It's boisterous.
So Paul is here as well.
Hello.
Thank you guys for being here today. I'm excited for this episode, for us to be able to talk a little bit about what goes on our trips to Indonesia. We took a team. You guys got back about a month ago, right?
Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little more.
So I'd love to have you guys start off by just telling us, just introduce yourself. You guys are all on staff here at New Heights. I would love you to just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what your role on the team was this year with the Indo team. So Jaret, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. I do two things here at New Heights. I work with middle schoolers. I do that up at Battleground campus. But then the other part of my role here is I lead this Indonesia team in the trip. And so there's different parts throughout the year. We're going into the promotion phase, and I'm wanting people to apply for the spots on the trip. And then there's a lot of training, and then the trip happens in the summer.
Yeah. So there's lots of planning, lots of training, lots of getting the team together, getting all those details. You do a lot of that stuff.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Matt, what did you do on the team this year?
This is pretty fun that when we bring the team over, and specifically during the MAF conference, we always provide like a kids camp for the elementary schoolers, youth camp for the middle schoolers, and then the adults meet together during the mornings, and then everybody meets together during the evenings. And so during the morning session, there's Bible teaching and worship, and then sometimes some MAF training that takes place during the morning sessions. And then during the night sessions, the night meetings, it's antics, games, skits, but then also worship and Bible teaching. So I got to go and partner with Matt Hannon, and we kind of co-led the Bible teaching time. He taught during half of the meetings. I taught during the other half of the meetings.
Yeah, great. Chad, how about you?
Yeah. So as Matt alluded to, I get to go and lead worship. So for conference, there's morning sessions, evening sessions, and I lead worship for both of those. But really what I do is I walk around with a guitar, and Matt Hannon just points at me and is like, lead a song.
Lead a song.
No, just kidding.
And that happens
Like you're joking.
all day,
You're joking,
day.
but that is kind of what happens.
Yeah. So the bulk of the
And
worship.
sometimes without a guitar, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Just a
Chad,
lot.
you don't have a guitar. It's all right.
Yeah,
Acapella.
those are the worst times. We're like, does anyone have a guitar?
Yeah. So it's really just a lot of leading worship, mostly at the conference there, and then at various other times.
Yeah. And you guys have all been on this trip a few times. How many years have you been on this trip, and what number of trip is this for you? How long have you been going to Indonesia?
For me, I've been 9 total times. 8 of them have been for conference, and 1 other for a different trip that we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt, how about you?
For me, this was my 10th trip to Papua. 9 of them were part of MAF conference, and there's a conference every single year. This 2024, the last conference that I've attended was 2014. So although I've been 9 other times in my past, I have not been there for a decade. I mean, essentially, I haven't been there for the family conference for a decade. So it was pretty fun to be back again and to
so this is
see
the grand
team
return.
Again. It felt like it. I loved it. Loved it. So I've had lots of exposure to Papua, Indonesia over the years.
Yeah. And Jaret, you've been there a couple times. You also have some other background in Papua. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, my answer is more complicated. This past year was my third trip for conference. I went on a different trip along with my dad, who did some concrete work. I helped out one of the schools. And then I lived there for a year and worked at a school that's called FLI, Papua Hope Language Institute, which basically trains Papuan students, teaches them English and stuff to be able to come to U.S. University and be successful academically and spiritually in their time here. So,
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, but living there for a year, I mean, come on now. That's
it's the different
Yeah, you're the
experience.
real-
Yeah.
that's
You're the real
trump
expert
card
here.
That's we'll quiet down over here, and we'll just defer all answers to you.
Yeah, I mean,
He knows where all the good street food is.
I do.
That's what-
I do.
Actually, he does. He took
I know.
us to some of those places. So.
And some of them I very dearly miss.
And it seems like a thing like street food. You just explore and you learn kind of the hard way. I'd imagine. We don't need to get into that.
Yeah, I've learned. I've learned the hard way.
If you make the wrong choice on the street food, you're paying the price.
Yeah.
I never had
sure.
I never had anything that bad. It was just every month or so. It's about a handful of days. You just can't trust your farts, is how I say it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Okay.
We went
But
there.
it's not so bad.
That's going to catch on for sure. Okay.
It's worth it.
I mean,
can we cut the podcast and we'll trim out that last section or something?
No, we don't trim anything
We'll go.
out. It's
we
all
went to a
stated.
commercials. Can we welcome people back from the commercial now? Hey,
It's all stayed in.
Welcome back from the commercial.
It's all stayed in.
but Matt, you're hosting, but you've also been.
I have been
Yeah.
several times, yes.
Yeah.
So I have experienced the street food. Jaret and I went together last summer, actually. So, and had some delicious street food.
We did.
All my questions are actually related to the street food. So,
In some way.
okay, so let's actually talk about what we do over there just briefly. We talked about this on the weekend some. Matt, you talked about, if you've heard Matt's talk for the Psalms of Ascent, he actually talks a little bit about the trip to Papua and what we do. So the team basically puts on, and you alluded to this, we put on a conference every summer for the Families of Mission Aviation Fellowship. So we just want to give you guys a little bit bigger picture of what that organization is and what that looks like when we go over there. So I guess my first question would be, what is Mission Aviation Fellowship, and why is their mission important? What is that organization that we go and serve every summer?
Yeah, so like the name suggests, Mission Aviation Fellowship. So they're the mechanism that they use to share the good news of Jesus Christ with remote places in the world is aviation. So I think their mission statement is something like provide help, hope, and healing through aviation. So if they can fly an aircraft into a remote area and they can provide medical supplies or gospel supplies, Bibles, they can resource missionaries who are living abroad, who are living in these remote places, then that's how Mission Aviation Fellowship can help serve these places, and how they can help share the gospel in these remote places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's very specific to Papua itself because of how remote it is. There's all these people groups that are only accessible by plane. And so they're bringing in stuff to the missionaries or to the people groups there.
Right.
And so that's
Otherwise,
happening
it's a multi-week journey through the jungle with a machete, making your own path.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you couldn't fly into one of those remote villages, you're gonna have to hike. You're talking your weeks on end or months on end to get from one place to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you fly over it, it seems easy, but I mean, the terrain is just
Yeah.
unreal.
Yeah, having been on a few hikes there, it's not it's not a great time.
Yeah.
Like certain death on one side
Right.
and just a muddy
And
slope on the other side.
Right. And a squishy, spongy edge
Yes.
to that
Right.
death side.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we when we were interior on one of these remote villages, we took a hike. There was a group of us that hiked up to a ridge, and you're standing there at the airstrip next to the aircraft, and you're looking up, and you're like, oh, see that like potato field or the sweet potato field that's up there? It doesn't look that far. It looks like a stone's throw away.
No.
And hours later, we finally arrived on the hike, and all of us realizing I didn't bring the right shoes, I didn't bring enough water, I am a sweaty mess, I can't feel my legs.
You particularly with the shoes. You had one pair of what, Vans?
Yeah, I did not.
He's wearing a pair of loafers over
I
here.
did not bring the right shoes this time around.
Hiking in inches of mud and
Yeah.
over across streams.
Yeah.
And
I've learned to never trust when anyone says it's an easy hike in
Never.
Papua.
That's true.
It's never an easy hike. It might be an easy hike, but then there's a single slippery log that you have to walk over.
No,
at one
I've crossed
point.
that log in many different villages.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
We also got, not me particularly, but some of our members got chased by a pig on the way back from the hike. So there's pigs. There's
Yep.
that's like getting
real.
through a video game. You know, you got to go up the hill, you got to face the boss.
You gotta cross the log,
And then you get to the angry pig.
Yeah, that's real.
dig some potatoes.
That's it.
Okay, so as a church, New Heights, what is our history with MAF? We've gone on this trip many years. I don't even know. Do you guys know how many years we've gone on this trip and what our history is with MAF over the years?
I mean, we've been saying 30 years. Yeah.
That sounds right.
Because if I recall, when Matt Hannon first made a trip over there, it was kind of mid-90s, so 94, 95, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And since then, we've been bringing a team to MAF conference, and a small team, medium team, large team. We bring teams over there for these past 30 years.
Okay. And what's the different ways that we have served MAF over the years? I know conference is one of those. Is there other ways?
Conference is the 1 week out of the year, but guys, what are all the other ones? There's rich history there.
You alluded to, your dad going over, so you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, my dad's been multiple times. I remember before I even really understood what Papua was, or that the world was big, because I was very small when he first went. He might even have gone before I was born, but he poured some of the hangars in MAF. We visited Wamena.
The concrete in the hangars.
The concrete, sorry. Poured the concrete in the hangars. So we went to Wamena, one of the other bases, and it's a huge concrete floor. And literally, you walk around, and there's nothing like that.
Right.
Concrete there, good concrete especially, is nearly impossible to find. And so we have this huge concrete hangar with the planes that he poured.
Yeah, a hangar
years
large
ago.
enough to park multiple aircraft inside this building, and it's all concrete that your dad poured.
And it was done with shovels and buckets, mixing it by hand. Literally.
Yeah.
So, he's gone over multiple times. More recently, pouring some concrete for sport courts and classrooms for one of the schools there. And he's done a lot of stuff like that. We have other people who've done medical stuff, financial stuff. This also kind of bleeds into what I feel like is the larger vision of the trip that we do every year. It's a couple weeks, but it feels so much bigger than that, because you have missionaries who, especially their kids, that we do a lot of investment in with our camps stuff. They don't have what feels truly like a home. They've grown up, or these missionary parents even have lived in in Indonesia for a long time. The kids all their lives usually, and sometimes they'll come back and they have a relationship with the church here and there, and they speak at those, but they don't know anybody. And then they come to New Heights, and it's like, oh, this person and this person, I know them, and oh, this person speaks a little bit of Indonesian and like understands my world. And they get to come to New Heights, and even if they're from, I don't know, somewhere on the East Coast or California or something, a lot of them always make sure to stop at New Heights, because they feel like, I don't have a home anywhere else in my home country, but New Heights feels like home. So that's like a really cool way that we have invested over the years. Just those couple weeks every year makes a bigger impact than sometimes even we realize.
Yeah, which is a huge connection piece for those families and for those kids. We send teams over there. We've sent a bunch of different teams. We have missionaries that come back here and like stay at New Heights when they're home on their furloughs. And even people from New Heights that have gone to Papua and are serving there, whether it's at the school you have for a little bit, and other people at the school. We watched a video from the Becks. Chad, you went and filmed a video with the Becks earlier this year.
Yeah.
How does their ministry connect with what MAF does?
Yeah, so when we talk about what MAF is doing, they're serving missionaries like the Becks. So the Becks live on the lowland area, not up in the mountains, but they're still pretty remote to get to where they are. And so, to get there, they need a plane to come in to bring them supplies, to help medevac people out, to serve them. And so we specifically support the Becks, but MAF is supporting them through like very close things there.
Yeah. Yeah, so we provide teams, financial support. New Heights even purchased a plane many years ago.
That's right. It was when the Kodiak first went to market. As soon as they were actually selling them.
Yeah.
And I remember the request was made, if we could help MAF by just putting a down payment on one of those aircraft, then that would kind of like save their spot in line. Because with this new aircraft that came out, there was all these organizations that wanted to buy them, so you had to make a down payment to reserve one. And so that was put before our congregation. Can we put a down payment down on the airplane? And the congregation, with extreme generosity, donated enough money, not just for the down payment, but to purchase the whole airplane for MAF.
Wow, that's amazing. So we have lots of different ways that we support MAF. We're going to talk about the conference because that's the trip that you guys went on this summer. So why don't you tell us a little bit more? You talked a little bit about it just briefly, but tell us a little bit more about what the MAF Family Conference is, and then maybe what does a typical day look like at conference for you guys, like while you're there.
Let me give a little context to why it happens and then what happens there, and then you guys can fill in with the day-to-day details there. Great. So when you think about all these different MAF missionaries, they are serving in different parts on this island, like different locations. And so some of them are a little bit larger operations. So you could have multiple families living on one base who are all flying in and out of one particular airstrip, one particular MAF base, or you could have some smaller bases where it's like a single family or two families are living there, and it's still in an isolated place. But from that part of the island, they're still servicing all the other airstrips and villages nearby. So this is like the 1 week a year when no matter where you're located on the island, you all get to come together and bring spouse, kids, all the your family, and you all get to spend the week together. And it's like church family camp. It's like family vacation, all rolled into one. A chance for everyone to connect together for that week. Yeah. So, what happens during that time? What does a typical day look like at conference?
Well, I can speak to the kids and students stuff at least. So from the first 3 hours of the day, after breakfast, everyone's together at breakfast, and then we kind of break off. Adults do their thing. But the kids and students, they basically do 3 hours for 4 days in a row of just what kind of camps look like here. So the kids do very kids campy stuff. They play with water balloons and all sorts of crafts and games and videos and sing silly songs and all the whole deal. Just like we kind of try to replicate it, similar to how we do it here. The students do the same thing. They play games. They have like this last year was Survivor themed, and they each got gold coins, and they could bid on different items that are like American candy and snacks that they don't normally get. Or there was some zongs, different silly stuff like that. That's like we basically package camp and bring it to them. And that's what the kids and students do for the first 3 hours.
Yeah. And then for the night meetings and stuff, Chad, you do worship for that. There's teaching at that. Talk about what that's like to do worship there.
Yeah, so I mean, really for the adults, it starts in the morning. So they have like a morning session. There's some Bible teaching that happens there, worship. And then they have, it's because they're all gathered together. They take advantage of that, and they do like sort of a business meeting, kind of like either team building or some like sharing a vision, things like that. That happens in the morning, and then there's like free time. So it's like family camp. Go hang out, get a game of soccer going or whatever. And then in the evening, then we do sort of a night meeting. So think like a camp night meeting. So there's like some fun stuff that happens, worship, teaching, and then free time in the evening, hang out.
Yeah. So you guys have really been able to, the nice thing about you guys going several years is that you've been able to develop friendships and stuff too. There's the piece of we bring a team over there and, everyone does appreciate the actual conference, but part of it is the relationship that you guys build with people over there. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that, about the friendships that you've developed over the years and what that looks like?
You want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you remember, I'm the guy that said I haven't been there for a decade.
That's true.
But I think that's kind of part of it because you have a decade of space in between, but still connections. You come back and
so that's where it was particularly fun to arrive on the scene, and there are those families that have been serving there for more than a decade.
Yeah.
So then, and for many of them, I have been able to keep tabs with them over the years, even in my absence from traveling over there. And so seeing them and being reunited with some of these families, and seeing like, oh, back when I knew you back then, you had babies, and today you have teenagers, and but still, it's that ongoing connection with some of these families like that.
Yeah. And that ongoing connection happens there at conference, but it also happens, this is what you're alluding to, Jaret, when those families come back here, when those kids come back here and are able to see like familiar faces of the students who are on the team, or for you guys. I know that you guys connect with people from MAF almost every time they come back. They come back and visit here, and all those, and I know those connections are really appreciated and valued among those families that are there. And even just there's a piece too of like, all these people are living in a foreign country where they're having to speak a different language than their own. And so there's a piece of like, when we come and do the camps, like for the kids, or we do a worship service, it's really meaningful to be able to like be a part of that, or hear teaching like in your own language, or have it feel like a little bit of home in the conference. And I think that's part of what's so meaningful to people too.
Yeah, what I love about the experience is, I mean, the first time I went was 2007, and so it was a while ago. I'm getting old.
2007, yeah.
But there are some families that are still there, still serving. Some families that have transitioned back to their home country. But every year I get to meet new people, and every year it's the same. It's like, man, the connections that happen in that 2-week time, week and a half, are just really, really incredible. And so even this trip, it's like they're new families that I didn't know before, but now I'm like, man, I consider them good friends, and look forward to the time when I can go back and see them. And that just continues every time that we make this trip. It's like, because man, it's really beautiful to see people of God serving Him, and doing it with the heart of just a heart of service, and a heart that it's beautiful to see.
And I love too, even when I've gotten to go and lead worship, it's such a great group to like lead worship for.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Everyone comes to conference and like is excited to be able to worship together, is excited to see each other, excited to grow together, and that's a really fun aspect of it too.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the team a little bit. What does travel look like? You talk about travel a little bit in your Psalms of Ascent talk.
Yeah.
But what does travel look like for the team to get to Papua?
A lot.
It's a lot of travel, right?
You've got a little data point.
Oh, okay, yeah. So one of the things that I shared in my Psalms of Ascent message in the current teaching series is, even though this is my 10th time going to Papua, I did something I've never done before, which is I timed the travel. On the way home, I was like, well, wouldn't that be interesting if I started a stopwatch when we were leaving Papua, and I didn't stop the stopwatch until I pulled into my driveway. And so I did that this time. And granted, it was a little unique in that we had a missed flight and just all the kind of, well, I guess not that unique, because that always happens in some way. There's
one way or another, there's
some
a delay.
travel glitch that's always going to happen. But this year we were traveling for over 61 hours. And so when you just string that together, you're just traveling for 3 solid days.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's 3 days
Yeah.
in airplanes, in airports.
It's at least 3 very long flights.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, and last year, glitchless travel on our way over from just takeoff to landing, not even driveway to driveway, was 56 hours.
Wow.
That's someone that John Prentice had timed.
Wow, that's right. Yeah,
It's in that ballpark.
it's kind of a brutal amount of travel.
Yeah.
And then when we get there, we always arrive in the morning,
And we're always so chipper.
and then we stay up all day long,
Right.
to try to get as adjusted to that time zone as possible,
Yeah.
so we
Yep.
can try to avoid all the jet lag
Yeah.
that happens. So what other things happen? We talked about conference. What other things happen while the team is in Papua, Indonesia? What other things go on besides the conference?
Even just to give everyone after traveling that long, you kind of just need you need a moment to let your soul catch up with your body and your mind, and just to be all in one place. So one of the things that we try to do is just that very first day after we arrive, oftentimes one of the MAF families will take the New Heights team to the beach, and you can put on sunscreen because you're right on the equator, but you can be at the beach for like half the day.
Or you can not, as some people do.
Woo! Not recommended. Yeah. And then, but also it's not like a beach that anyone has ever experienced here in the Pacific Northwest on the Oregon coast, right? I mean, it's very nice, and water to warm up, you go get in the water. I mean, it's because the water's so hot. It's it's kind of unlike anything you can experience here.
Yeah.
And it is when I lived there, I went to the beach felt like every other weekend. I was also basically one of the
great.
Wiley crew, and they go there, they live at the beach, I swear. But it is a thing that's a very different beach experience than you do here.
Yeah.
You can drive basically to the sand, whereas there the roads are much better this year. Previously, it was a 1-hour drive that if the roads were built like they are here, it'd be like a 15-minute drive. Right. Because it's just pothole after pothole that you're just making your way through. And then you have to hire a boat to drive you out to the beach, and you're eating...
And drop you off.
And then
they leave.
Right.
And they're like, I hope they come back.
Trust that they come back. But it's a unique
So when we're going to the
experience.
beach, because it is this unique moment, because that's exactly it. When you're getting dropped off by a boat, and you're like, well, I hope they come back.
Exactly.
I remember, so when we were getting dropped off, Asher, my son was on the trip this year, and when we were, when I was showing him pictures, and he's like, so wait, we got to go to that beach? And he goes, it looks just like Survivor. Because it does. That's kind of how remote it looks when you're going, these boats are plowing over to this kind of sandy beach area, and just looks pretty uninhabited.
Yeah. Okay, so there's the day we kind of get accustomed to the new time zone.
Right.
Chill for a day. What happens after that? We usually we go to a remote village typically. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. We get to fly on an MAF plane, so one of their smaller craft, takes the team interior, different village, not the same village every single time, but a different village, and we get to give our team that experience of these are the people that MF is serving, the missionaries and the local Papuans. Yeah. And
essentially the interior, those remote villages are the heart of ministry in Papua in some way. Pretty much every ministry of all sorts, so many different types, exist because of that epicenter of ministry, which is the remote villages, sharing the gospel to these people who are basically emerging from the Stone Age, a lot of them still, into a world that they are learning all sorts of things about. And one of the things that we are called to share with them is the gospel, and reach those villages, and develop church communities and allow them to have opportunities. And so the school that I worked at feels very separated from the village, the remote villages, but because it's sending people to the U.S., but it's still giving opportunities that they would not otherwise have. And all of the modern world rushing into these remote villages overwhelms them with all sorts of unhealthy habits and lifestyles and stuff. And corruption is a big part of that, and being taken advantage and all sorts of things. And so the goal of the school that I was working at is to give Papuans educational opportunities so that they can be well equipped to come back and be the future leaders of Papua as Papuans, and serve God in the process, and be godly men and women who are leading Papua in the future. So,
which is a huge deal, because there's not other opportunities like that. If you grow up in a village, that is one of the only ways that can happen.
Yeah. So it's all centered around that, and so that's why we value being able to take our team into those remote villages, because that ultimately is the heart of ministry in Papua. So it's a really valuable experience. The team was, this year you could just, they light up when they talk about it, because it's just such a unique thing.
Yeah, it's a very unique experience. Even traveling into the village, flying into the village on an MAF plane. You're flying on a plane that holds 8 to 10 people probably.
Yeah, max.
Everyone is weighing themselves exactly, weighing every piece of luggage to get the right amount of weight to be able to make sure we can fly over the mountains and land on a grass or gravel airstrip that is literally just cut into a mountain. Essentially, it's pretty crazy. Like even just the landscape that you're flying over is extremely remote.
That's why even when we are talking about it, you can't just say a village. It's like a remote village. It's like you have to like build in these qualifiers just to try to put it in people's minds. Like you feel like you're on the end of the world, like the edge of the world. Like you're out there. It's so remote, and it's hard to even describe it, but it's exactly.
And these pilots are amazing. Like we're flying through, you're flying through fog. You can't see stuff. You're circling around mountains to get down into a valley to be able to land somewhere. It's always an amazing experience, like flying on those planes. Those pilots are very skilled at what they do.
Yeah. So it gives our students a picture of what MAF is doing, but also gives our students a picture of what those missionaries are doing when they're either doing Bible translation or just doing missionary work there. Because you're coming into a tribal group that probably doesn't speak Indonesian, or most of them don't speak Indonesian. They have their own local language. And so you're kind of there, and you're like, yeah, this is what it would be like if I landed here.
Yeah.
And then I've got to figure out, okay, how do I communicate with this people group? How do I love them and show them the love of Jesus? But yeah, it's a interesting experience.
And one really unique thing we got to do this year, we attended church in the village, which is not like attending church here. Again, it's like it's a hike, and it's a 30-minute hike, and it's one of those, it's just 30 minutes, but you're hiking straight upwards and straight downwards and straight upwards again.
And every time you hike down into a valley, there's some creek, some river, and you're crossing not a bridge, but a log, a slippery log that's laid over there, and you're like, well, okay, I could go for a swim before church this morning.
And everyone who lives there acts like it's the easiest walk in the world.
Right. They're like, it's the close one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the one that's a 5-hour hike. It's just 30
one.
minutes.
Yeah.
And so you walk into this church building, and it's just wood slats, no chairs. You're sitting on the floor. All of us Americans are like, we're so tired at the end, and they're
for a couple hours.
Right, good for a couple hours.
Yeah.
But we got to take communion this year, which is some chemical juice. Definitely not natural, and it was some strange cinnamony cake or something.
I couldn't tell you what the fluid was or what the bread was, like the cup or the bread. I don't know what it was,
but it's a cup and a bread, and we're taking it in this remote village as we're trying to describe just the absolute edge of the world. It feels like, and we get to hear from the pastor there. We feel forgotten sometimes. We feel like we're in this strange corner of the world. We're alone. But you all showed up to our village in our church this morning, and are taking communion, and we are one body. We are one people under Christ, all children of God together, and this reminds us that God has not forgotten us. And it's like,
it's amazing.
Yeah, we can sit on some wooden floors.
Yeah, that's really cool. So the team is there in the remote village for 2 to 3 days, probably.
Typically, it's like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we fly out on Monday.
Yeah.
So it's just full weekend.
Okay.
Not quite 4 days.
So what else happens? You talked about going to church there. Right. What else does the team get to experience in the village? What other things are happening while you're there?
The big one is the Bakar Batu. That does not always happen. It's a very big celebration. It's a lot of food, which is an incredibly precious resource.
What does Bakar Batu mean? Because that's a phrase that I always hear when I'm there, and you say it. Say it so easily, and every time I'm trying to explain what I try to say it, I'm like, it's a Barker. What is it again?
Yeah,
Bakar Batu.
Batu is rock.
Batu.
Bakar is roast, cook, grill, whatever.
And it's some form of rock.
Cooking it.
All right.
So it's a pit they dig, and every village. What's so crazy is every village does basically the same thing, but they have their own little flair on it. They do it basically. They dig a pit. They have hot rocks that have been sitting in a fire that's now down to coals, and so these rocks have just heated through.
Some of them literally glowing.
Yeah. And they've got these sticks that are split down the middle to kind of be like tongs almost, but a stick
little pinchers to pick up the rocks.
Pick up the rock, and you can see they have videos of us all trying to get in and get a rock, and then they're like, step back, let them put their rock where, and then okay, now we'll move it to where we actually need it to go, because they just know exactly what they're doing.
Yep.
They're masters of their craft in their world. And they layer all these rocks, and then banana leaves, and then food, and then banana leaves and rocks and banana, and then all up the thing. So these rocks just are in this mass with all this food, just heating it, cooking it, and then hours later, in the afternoon, they unpeel it and take everything out and categorize it, and then they made this beautiful little arrangement of banana leaves and wood boards for us to sit on, and they came around and scooped us all little portions of chicken, which I hadn't seen in a bakar batu before.
Yeah, that was new. That was new to me.
But then ubi, which is sweet potatoes, greens, and some cassava root. Different things.
And those two, like meat is not a common thing that they're eating. This is like a very valuable
right. So
thing.
this is a big feast. Like when he says it's a feast, like this was like probably one of the bigger feasts they've had in a really long time. I mean, by sheer quantity of people, we travel with a group. I mean, they're in that village. There's 17 of us on the team, and they're in that village. I mean, it's almost all of us. And then plus they get the missionaries who are there, plus the MAF families and guests that are traveling with us. So I mean, we're a crowd up there, in the 20s.
Yeah, we're skewing their population.
For sure. For sure.
We're gonna need a bigger pig.
And so here's another piece to the bakar batu is that, I mean, you mentioned they dig a pit. So I mean, the pit can be 2 or 3 feet deep, and then as they layer in the rocks and layer in the banana leaves and put the food in, and more leaves, more rocks. I mean, you're 3 or 4 feet up above the surface of the ground. So you're talking about 5 to 6 feet of layers of these hot molten lava rocks and the banana leaves, and chicken is in there somewhere on this.
They put it on
around.
the top.
Yeah.
So it worried me a little bit if it was going to get cooked through, but it did.
But again, they don't have ovens. They don't have an oven. So this is their oven.
Right.
Dig a hole in the ground, put some hot rocks on it. So that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically that, or on a regular day, cook it in a fire.
Yep.
They throw a sweet potato in the ashes of a fire
That's
and
it.
pull it out a few minutes later.
It's definitely a unique experience. Like another unique experience that the team usually gets to experience is overnighting, like in a honai. Did you guys have the chance to do that this year?
We did.
Yeah.
Bit of a luxury honai experience.
Oh,
this
that's
was my
nice.
first time, actually. We didn't do it when I've gone in the past.
Oh, okay.
So this was my first
A
time.
honai, for all of our listeners back home, a honai.
You guys don't know what a honai is?
Yeah, come on now. It is the grass hut. It is the house, the home of Papuans.
Yeah.
So in villages, and from the outside, it really does look like a grass hut. And do we have show notes? Can we put a picture up somewhere?
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. Paul, can we throw that in the show notes?
Done.
Oh, done. It's already there. Okay.
Man, I don't know if I believe
We don't have show notes.
I don't know
Sorry.
if that's done.
But I do show a picture of some honais in the village that was just neighboring the church in my message on the weekend during the Psalms of Ascent series. So if during services I show a picture of a honai, but the honais that the team slept in, by far the nicest honai that I've ever been in, and I've been in a lot of them.
Yeah, it had a nice layer of dried grass, so it was a little comfy, not just straight wooden boards.
Yep, kind of like hay.
And probably the thing I was most grateful for is they had a really bright light, which sounds like a bad thing when you're sleeping, but it was. I'm so grateful because that's what kept the bugs away. I was in.
That's true. It's true.
I've heard some horror stories of like the walls move when you're looking in there, and I didn't have that, which I'm great. This is great for me. But I didn't see a single bug. I don't think the whole time I was in there, which is not a common honai.
It's not common at all.
Yeah,
I've had multiple honai experiences, and so it's a circular hut with a grass roof, usually bamboo
on the floor,
right? In the middle is a fire.
Yeah, that's a notable feature.
That is true. Yeah,
you're in a wooden. Let me restate this. You're in a wooden hut.
Very dry. A lot of dry
bamboo
grass
and dry
everywhere.
grass, and then a fire going in the middle. What could go wrong?
Just burn it.
and there's a chimney, right?
It's fine.
No, there's no
just-
chimney.
no chimney.
No
Well, of
chimney.
course
You're just in
up
the room
into
with the smoke.
Anyway,
It's a real hot box
Why would
situation.
there be a chimney?
and you're in a hot climate, so you got a fire going in the middle. But sleeping is, we are a larger people than most Papuans.
That's true.
So they fit comfortably in there. But for, us Westerners, we're a little bit taller.
And there's
so-
like a men's and a
Yeah, yeah,
woman's.
right,
yeah.
Yep.
woman's-
You're
so
sleeping.
it's all the
But even-
guys in
Yeah.
like
Yep.
one circling
Right.
this fire.
Even
so when
still,
you-
we Westerners tend to be a little more resistant to snuggling up to one another.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
anyway.
speak for yourself.
So you're in this. You got a fire in the middle. If you can't really stretch out because your feet would be in the
Yeah.
fire, your back's
For
against
sure, a
the
guy
wall.
like me, 6'2".
I'm not the tallest,
Yeah,
but it's
if-
still uncomfortable.
If
for
my
me.
head's hitting the wall, my feet are in the fire. So you're
Yeah. And then, you kind of hang out in there, try to have some conversation, share some Bible verses, sing a little bit. And then it's kind of like, all right, it's time to go to sleep. Everyone just kind of lays down and then you just try to sleep. And, you're kind of talking about a fortunate incident where there were not a whole lot of bugs, but definitely have been in Honais where there's lots of things crawling around and, it's a fun night's sleep.
It's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just
Anyway.
part of the experience. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever slept in a Honai.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I've been in a Honai overnight.
Overnighted until
I've overnighted in
Yeah.
many Honai.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We call it that for a reason. We don't call it sleeping in a Honai.
Yeah.
It's
Overnighting.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it, but there's also the very sweet part of it is just being there with a people that you're like, we have our faith in common. We don't have a common language. We're singing songs together. We're trying to communicate, but we know one day we'll be in heaven.
Yeah.
And I'll see that person that I had this unique experience in this evening in the remote part of Indonesia.
Right.
And I'm going to see them in heaven, and that's so beautiful.
And one of the things that I love about that experience is that for our team that we bring to Papua from New Heights, it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for them to sleep in a home like that. And it's something they will not forget it for the rest of their life. They'll be telling that story, retelling that story till they're old. Likewise, the Papuans that are opening up their home to us, they're not entertaining a lot of Westerners inside their home overnight. And so it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them, too, to open their home and to host us in their home. Yeah. This is their home where they live. And they're inviting us in and putting us up for the night. And and it's a pretty special experience for us. And I've heard reflected back that it's a unique experience for them as well.
They'll be telling that story forever of the time that 6'2" American guy came and slept.
Came and burned his feet in the fire.
Yeah. It's happened. Right. It's happened.
And I mean, most of the team who was sleeping or overnighting in the Honais, we were kind of nervous about it. I am in that boat, but we had just heard earlier that day about how meaningful it was that we got to come and be at church with them and share communion with them, and it was just for us. It was like we got to remind ourselves. I have to remind myself, and I was telling this to the team as well. Think about how much that communicates our valuing of them as a people, that we care enough to live as they live.
Yeah.
Just for one night.
Yep.
That's good.
We can lose a little sleep, have a few bugs crawl on us, to communicate that these people are valuable and that we want to identify with them in the way they live and their brother and sisterhood in Christ. So that was a small way for us to communicate that. So it is special and something we ought not to forget either.
Yeah, that's really good. So the team leaves the remote village, flies back to Santani, gets ready to set up conference, which you've already talked about conference a little bit. I'd love to just open it up here in a second and let you guys just kind of share what was unique or any stories you might have about this year's team. I did want to say one thing we didn't mention earlier when we do conference is we take a medical team basically as well, and that's another thing that happens like while conference is there. When do you guys want to share a little bit about that? Or I can.
I guess there's no real experts in the room.
Right.
But, I know what they
I'm
do.
no doctor.
Which is why we missed it earlier. But that is a big part of
Right.
the missionaries there are able to go see a doctor that they
Right.
bring
So
along with us,
Yeah.
and they make appointments throughout the week.
It's not, the medical care is not easily available
Yeah.
for these missionaries.
Yeah, so much so that there was a medical emergency while we were there.
Yeah.
Starts pouring rain and the ground and there was a tile ground, these tile stairs, and one of the missionaries slipped, and when she slipped, she came down and cracked her wrist on the edge of a stair, and cracked her wrist, like kind of shattered her arm, and so our medical team could give her the care she needs right then and there to like splint it, to brace it, but then it's clear, okay, she's probably going to need surgery. Open her up. No, we're not going to do surgery right there. But they had, so then the only way to do that is, okay, well, we're in Papua, so now book an airplane flight from Papua over to the capital city, Jakarta, which is a 5 or 6 hour flight away.
But the nearest place that has those resources.
That has a hospital like that that could do surgery. And so, hey, even though you just shattered your wrist and you've got nothing of support in there, we'll split it. We'll
You're
take
in
care
agony,
of it.
but
You're dying in pain, and then tomorrow you might get on an airplane and you might be able to go to the hospital. And when you get to the hospital, they might let you in, and might. And but that to me that kind of illustrates one, the great need for the medical team that we bring, but then also just kind of the sacrifice that the missionaries make while living in this space, giving their lives to share the gospel.
Yeah. So John and Teacher Apprentice have been going over for years.
Right.
And I know John has built like a lot of relationships with people where I think a lot of those missionaries, he's their doctor. I'm sure he talks to them during the year too, and he's able to meet with them. And it's all those things that they can't really go to a doctor for. Obviously, he's not doing surgeries when he's there, but he is giving them a chance to ask the questions that they have and give them medical advice. And it's a very valuable thing.
Yeah, that's another way that trip kind of bleeds out into the rest of the year is that we have the doctors we send. John, has previously been John Prentice, who does medical stuff. We have Genoveva O'Neill, who did it last year. Yeah. We'll do it next year, this year, and every other year going on will be Nicole Weiss, who goes as the medical person. But there's a whole team of people here who are in contact throughout the year with those missionaries when they have questions like, is this something I should be worried about, this spot or this infection or something? And because of the relationship we've built up at conference in that investment, we are trusted people for them that they're like, I know I can go to them and get help, and they want to help.
I mean, even when I'm on that trip, I'm like, John, does this look infected to you?
Oh, that's real.
That is real.
There's a lot of check-ins with the doctor team along the way.
Exactly. He's very valuable to have with the team because people do get sick on the trip as well. That is something that does happen. Anytime you travel overseas and have a lot of street food.
John, I just puked for like 10 minutes straight. Should I be worried? Or?
He's like, no, it just happens.
Yeah, that's fine.
You'll be fine.
Okay, so let's talk about this year's team. What are some stories you guys have? What was unique to you about this year's team or this year's trip or the impact that you guys were able to have on the families that are there? Anything that stands out to you guys?
This year, with the team that we bring, the camps team that goes to put on the kids camp and the student camp, which is 6 to 8 spots a year we open up, and people can apply for those spots. We had a unique year in that sense because COVID kind of threw off a lot of the momentum of this trip. It used to be, I remember, when I was coming up in student ministry here at New Heights, I had friends, I had my siblings, I had other people who I knew went on the trip before, and I saw them go. They came back, they shared stories, they saw the light in their eyes talking about it, and I'm like, get to my senior year when I am 18 and can go on the trip, and I'm like, why would I not go? Of course I'm going. Of course I'm going to apply. And with COVID, that just continuity of people coming back and telling those, a couple years younger than them, stopped. That momentum was thrown off. And so for the last couple of years, I just don't think that there's been a real vision or understanding within a lot of the people who would have normally applied to know what they're missing out on. And so we had a hard time getting people to apply. We had 3 people who came who had actually applied. The other 4 that we brought, we sought them out rather than them seeking out the opportunity. two of which were on the team last year, and another two who had been on trips like this before, who were outside of the normal scope, a little older, and so yeah, that was a unique year in that sense. But it kind of gave us a sort of more advanced team in experience and age and knowledge and all sorts of stuff, and so that was a unique thing. But it felt like it gave us cool opportunities in different ways.
How about you guys? Anything that stood out to you from this year's trip?
Yeah, kind of going off of what you said, COVID, we had to take a break.
Yeah.
And, the community there are people who've been there for a long time, and there are people who come in and out. I mean, the mission community, that's just the nature of things, is people come in, people have to leave for a number of reasons. And so you have some cyclical nature of people being there. And so because of the break for COVID and some new leadership maybe coming in and new families coming in, it's like there's a less of a connection to New Heights because we hadn't sent a team and because there's new people. And so to me, this year was kind of a reinvigoration of that. It was like, I know the team that Matt was on that went the year before, that was like the first, second iteration of this experience, kind of coming back fully. And so there's that. So this one felt like, I think we're back. I think this felt really good. The team was great. And it just felt very, very similar to any of the other trips that I've gone on. And so it was really fun, man. It just really fun to make those connections and it was great.
Yeah, and the missionaries who are there, who are part of MAF, they are some of the most generous people on the planet, most kind, most hospitable, so that even when you show up, and it is fun to see our team members that we're bringing from New Heights, and I've seen this now just about every single time that I've been there. As soon as the team steps off the airplane and lands in Papua, and typically that's a 6 a.m. arrival, I mean, there's always all sorts of MAF missionaries who are there to greet you either in the airport or there at the MAF base, and they just greet you with hugs and warm welcomes, and like as if you're immediately part of the MAF family. Like even it's like, I've just met you for the very first time. You're welcomed into the MAF family because it is such a kind group of people. Yeah.
So if we're gonna talk to the church, say someone wanted to get involved in this trip, Jaret, you were involved in putting the team together. I'm sure the planning is probably already happening for next year or is about to happen soon. So say someone wanted to get involved in the trip next year. What kind of people are you looking for?
Right.
How can they get involved in that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So there's the whole team is people who are coming to teach from the Bible during the conference. We've got people coming from medical stuff. We've got different roles that don't change every year, and it's the same people. And then we have the camps team, which are those people who have applied or joined and been trained to be on that team and do that stuff. And those are the spots we have new people come every year. And so within that team of those who are coming to put on the camp and go through all the training that we do and all that sorts of stuff, the kind of age range of what we're looking for is 18 to 26 broadly. It usually forms into more of like high school seniors and then some younger adults. Probably 18 to 22 is more like what it ends up being. But people who are within that age range and leaders in their context, whether it's leading in student ministries here, whether it's serving in other capacities, but you have shown like, I'm someone who's involved in leadership, involved in serving, wanting to find out what's the next step that God has for me, and this might be it. And especially for young people, why we take younger people, it's like, this is an incredibly formative experience. It's a way that you get to connect with those students there. And a lot of, I was talking to some of my team members from this year last night. They're telling me about conversations they're having with some of the students they just were with at conference. And so being able to keep those relationships is really, really cool. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
What would you guys, I'll just open it up to you guys too. What would you say specifically to students who are thinking about being involved in this trip that you would add to what Jared said? I know your son Asher went this year.
Loved it. He loved it. Yeah. And so what advice would I give any one of our students? Go. Check it out. Go talk with any one of the people who have gone before, and come talk to Jaret. See the videos, see the photos. It is a life-changing experience. And I'm not just talking about the travel or the adventure. It's a life-changing experience to see what the Lord is doing around the world, to see how the Lord is working in one of the most remote areas on the planet. Jesus is alive and well there, and he's changing, he's transforming people's lives. And so when you get to go on this trip, you get to see that happening. You get to hear the stories of people. This is what my life was like before the gospel came to this village, and this is the transformative power of Jesus Christ in my life and in the lives of people here. So it is a life-changing trip for anyone who goes. And so any one of our students who's interested, I'm like, you gotta go. So go talk to Jared.
Yeah. Well, and I would say talk to people who have gone. Go and have a conversation. If you know someone who's gone, or me even, talk to them. That's the best way to find out what it's all about.
Yeah. And I think you don't have to feel like, I think I feel called to missions.
Yeah.
To feel like you need to go, you should go on this trip. Because I think, just like Matt was saying, to open your eyes to what God is doing globally. We get so focused in on what the church looks like here in the United States or even in Vancouver. We get sort of narrow-mindedly focused on what our context looks like. And when you can broaden your context to be like, oh, God is working in so many different ways and so many different circumstances and people that maybe God would open your heart to say like, oh, maybe I should go and do this, but maybe not. Maybe it would just be a chance for you to have your eyes open and then to meet some really, really amazing people who you could have a lifetime connection with that are doing amazing work and support them in a way that is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the stories that Matt Hannon has told a couple times is one of the students who came in the past went on the trip, kind of saw some. I mean, it really feels like firsthand, front lines, kind of gospel in action stuff that you see, and people making so many sacrifices to spread the word about Jesus. And this student made a comment that was, I don't have a worthy goal for my life. And so I just think that that's something that a lot of the people who go on this trip and are able to visit Papua and see what goes on there, it's like our goal in life is to serve the Lord in any way we can with the opportunities he's given us. And so whether that's a run-of-the-mill job that it happens here in the United States, or whether that is serving overseas in some capacity, full-time or trips or whatever, like this will maybe reestablish what the goal of your life may be. So I would encourage you, if you're considering going on this trip, don't miss out on that. So
Yeah. It's a very unique experience.
Yeah.
One that you won't forget anytime soon. And that's a great way to wrap it up. I do want to ask one more question, though. We can't end it there.
Okay.
Well, we can't.
Because Papua is a very unique, interesting place. So I would like to know, before we are done here, this is our last question. What is the craziest thing that you guys have seen or done while you were in Papua?
Oh, like ever?
Ever.
Out of any of the trips?
Ever.
When
Out
you
of
lived
any
there
of the
for a
trips.
year,
What
you've
is-
been there almost 10
What is one of
times?
those things where you're like,
Ooh.
this is very interesting? Anything come to mind? Though I'll start us off. The one thing that comes to my mind, and we were on this trip together, Matt, you and I. We went to either an alligator or a crocodile farm,
A farm.
and
Yes.
this is like, it's like a zoo, I guess, but just is like full of alligators. I don't know, is it alligators or crocodiles? Have you been to
crocs.
this place?
It's
Crocs. Okay. So
I've not
there
been
are
to
literally hundreds of crocodiles completely unattended.
Yes.
I saw no one.
There was no one working there.
No one
Not
working
a
this place
single
at all.
person
Just these
there.
giant pits filled with crocodiles.
With kind of like a chain link fence between you and the crocs.
kind of.
Yeah.
Not even that. Not even that. Just like a little brick wall.
Yeah.
And so we're just wandering around this thing, and these are like generally angry kind of crocodiles.
Underfed.
And on this trip,
Pretty-
I distinctly remember we were like doing things like trying to a couple of the people on the team were trying to get into the crocodile pit to see how far they could
yeah,
walk
this
out
is
into
not-
it and then run back and get back.
This is
it
not
was
good.
It was crazy.
It is not good. Yeah.
And I will say that person was Mark Hartley. That was definitely one of the things that sticks in my mind where I'm like, this is
That was
insane.
unique. That was a unique experience.
Yeah.
For sure.
Anything else come to you guys' mind?
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things that pile up. There's just so many things I'm trying to like filter through that have been done over the years. Gosh, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about the hikes, and I have
Yeah.
hiked in a lot of different terrain while we're there, and I do remember one hike in particular. We were in a village called Devoto, and the missionaries there. His name is Steven, and Steven's like, "You guys want to hike down to the creek?" And so we're like, "Yeah." Is it tough? He's like, "Oh, it's like an average hike." Guys, it is the worst. It's the most difficult hike I've ever done in my entire life, and it took hours to get down to the creek. And
Average was the giveaway when
Yeah.
it was that it wasn't.
and it was so steep that it's not a hike. You're climbing, like it's like you're rappelling down to the creek. But then you get down to the creek and you're like, well, now I got to get back up. It's so
I'll just stay here.
You're just scaling the side of this cliff, like climbing up back up to the airstrip, back up to the missionary house.
Man.
And you're kind of looking for anything to grab a hold of, but at the same time, you're like, is all this vegetation growing out of this hillside? Is it poisonous? Am I grabbing this thing full of thorns? So you're kind of being careful about what you're grabbing to pull your way up. And so we get all the way back up, and one of the things that Steven said, he's like, when we got back up there, he's like, "Hey, did you notice like on the cliffside that we were climbing up? Did you notice like all those holes?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was using those holes to like crawl up, to like grab a hold of." And he's like, "Okay, now that you're up, those are tarantula holes." I'm like, "Get out! You're not." He's like, "No, I'm serious.
Wow.
That's where the tarantulas live." I'm like, "I am so glad you didn't tell me that beforehand, because there's so many when you're crawling up and you're just like you're just.
Oh, this is convenient.
It's like a grip. You're just grabbing a hold of it, pulling yourself up. Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
Wow.
So that was a pretty wild experience. When I'm like, I am so glad that I didn't know that beforehand.
Yeah.
But
I do have one to share that's kind of like the regularity of it is surprising.
Okay.
The roads there are manic. They're
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
the
different.
driving,
So
is-
different.
Yeah, the driving. is kind
And
of
you
outrageous.
see some things that just you feel like, what's going on? What world am I in? One of
true.
them particularly, I saw this multiple times. You've got they will fit more people on a motorbike
That's
than
true.
you think should ever
That's
be
true.
possible while moving
Yep.
at speeds. But one that I saw is a guy riding his motorbike, someone on the back, and that person on the back is holding a wheelbarrow with another guy chilling in the wheelbarrow. And I saw that multiple times.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So they really know how to get around. They know it's efficient, I guess.
I've never seen the wheelbarrow move, but I have seen families of 5
Yeah.
on,
Oh,
a
definitely.
motorcycle.
Yeah.
Like that is not
Turn
an
this bike into a
uncommon-
minivan.
Yeah, it is not uncommon to see 5 family members on one
That's
motorcycle.
so crazy.
All right, I have a lot, but this was a unique thing that happened. So we one of the trips we went interior to a village called Nalcha, and in that village they just had a volleyball net up, which is not super unique, but it was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, we're in the mountains of Indonesia, and it's like, oh, volleyball net. So and they were like, the people of the village were like, they're getting an organized game together, they're playing, and so we're like, oh yeah, we should.
I remember this. I remember.
Like, well, that's fun. Like, we should go join them. And so we kind of like make our way over there, and they got like a game going, but they also have like a blowhorn. Like, there's a guy like a what do you call that? Anyway, like a blowhorn.
Yeah.
And he's like making announcements, just like talking the whole time, and I'm like,
And
this
remember the language barrier.
Yeah.
So we have no idea what they're saying.
seems-
Yeah.
they're speaking in their local language. But we're like trying to get in on this game, right? So we're like kind of standing there,
And they are playing volleyball.
Yeah, they're playing volleyball.
Okay.
Yeah, like
It's not like they're running drills or... Okay.
No,
Yeah.
no. It's like a game.
It's a game, but it's volleyball, so it's like they cut down a tree and like carved up a trunk of a tree and then kind of buried it. So that's like one volleyball pole, and they did.
Yeah.
So it's rustic volleyball, but it's volleyball.
Yeah.
It's real. And so we like it's real. We're kinda, yeah,
I promise.
yeah. We're kind of trying to like to see if we can play. So we're
Like
kind of standing
rotate in
there,
or-
right?
Yeah,
so
right,
we're kind
rotate
of
in.
like whatever, and it feels like they don't really want us to play, but we're like, oh, but I don't know. So we're
trying to build
eventually-
relationships, build
eventually,
connections. We're here.
They're like, oh, whatever. Like, yeah, get in here and play.
Yeah.
And we start playing for about 10 minutes, and then someone who speaks Indonesian came over and was like talking, and then we realized like they have like a tournament going on, like they
An
literally
organized-
they have like other villages are
Other
coming
villages
in.
have traveled into
and it's like
this village.
an organized, like full on like tournament that's happening. We just kind of were like wandering onto the court. They're like, "Hey, can we play?"
and it's like, and we were like, all right, you guys go over to that side. We'll be over on this side. And we're like, so now we're completely screwing up the teams.
They're
So-
having to change the brackets.
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
So then we watched them do their tournament.
Yeah.
After we got out of the way.
Dude, there's
really
a
funny.
I've never
there's
heard
a
of
photo
that.
from that village that I have, and I could go find it. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
There's so many people there that were there to watch the tournament and participate in the tournament that I tried teaching them the wave. And so there's a photo of me just sprinting along this sea of Papuans who are there, arms in the air, trying to teach them how to do the wave. It didn't catch on, but there is a photo of me sprinting through this crowd, teaching them how to do it. So
Yeah.
didn't quite catch on there.
Well,
that
they were
time
just
either.
there to see the
Yeah.
tournament.
Yeah.
Like, get out of the way, man.
The wave hasn't caught on yet there.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. That's so funny.
Yeah, that was fun.
Dude, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. That was good.
Nobody was throwing sweet potatoes at you.
Nobody's
though.
throwing sweet potatoes.
That's good.
No.
We're getting booed.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys being here today. It was good to talk about the ministry that we have to Indonesia, this trip this past summer. Any final thoughts before we head off?
I mean, I would encourage any one of our students who's interested in the trip. You got to talk to Jaret and get signed up or fill out the application.
Yeah.
It's a life-changing opportunity.
Yeah, we'll begin promoting the this next year's trip in October, and then
Okay, coming up.
applications will be open. We'll have an info meeting late November, something
Cool.
like that. So
Cool.
yeah,
Great.
be watching out for that.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us today. I do want to say thank you to all of New Heights on behalf of MAF for if you go to New Heights, we support MAF, and so just grateful to all of you guys for helping to support the ministry that happens each and every summer. So,
Okay.
thanks for being here today, guys.
Thanks for hosting, Matt.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
We'll see you
Paul.
next time.
Thanks over there in the booth, Paul.